What's up, Internet? This is Rambling Josh, and welcome to the very first episode of a brand new Let's Play project. The game this time around is one that I like so much that I just had to play it. Well, let's play it, rather. Uh, it's a pretty interesting game that was actually made almost entirely by a single person. This game, of course, is Dust: An Elysian Tale. So, when I say it was made by one person, obviously, if we look at the credits here, I mean, there's a pretty big list of names. But all of the art and all the programming were done by fellow at the top here, Dean Doddrail, or however you pronounce his name. And that's really impressive. So, anyways, we are going to be starting a new game. As you can see, I have in fact already beaten the game, but we're gonna start a new one. So, first time around, I played through the game on normal mode, and it was pretty easy, honestly. I'm tempted to just play through on hardcore, just because... well, because. But, given that I'm going to be talking and recording and all that while I play, that tends to make things a little bit harder, so I'm just gonna go for tough.
Our world has fallen to fade, its great works long since complete, its storied civilizations long since fallen to dust. The greatest legends of Elysium long since forgotten. What was once a land of promise has fallen to the ravages of war. And it was in this, our most desperate hour, that the greatest of Elysian tales began. The lone warrior stood against an army, slashing his way through all who opposed him. The mob stood no chance, and the soldier showed no mercy. But despite his victories, his skills, his ruthlessness, the valiant soldier would perish on this day. Not to the mob, but to a single child.
So that's our introduction.
Dust.
Hello.
Dust. Arise.
Okay. Well, I can't actually do anything yet.
What? A talking sword? What are you?
A talking sword.
Which you have summoned.
Summoned? How? For what purpose?
That I do not know. But we shall learn in time. Now rise and claim the blade of Ara.
That's me, by the way. And who is this?
Stop! Stop right there!
And who is she?
Me? I'm Fidget, guardian of this sword.
No offense, but aren't you a bit, well, small? For a guardian, I mean.
Hey, I just look after that thing. After 200 years, nobody expects the sword to just fly off and start, talking. I'm kind of wishing somebody told me this was part of the job description. Or maybe they did, and I just wasn't paying attention. Yeah, that happens sometimes.
I guess you can't be blamed
Sorry,
for...
I think I misheard before. You said your name was Fidget?
Hey, this isn't about me. You're the one who's got my sword. How about you tell me your name?
I'm...
Calm yourself, Fidget. His name is Dust, and he is the one who woke me.
Why
up from my
are you
slumber.
calling me Dust? Where did this name come from?
Fidgets, then.
That's me. And you're Dust?
Apparently.
It seemed that way, though I can't recall that name. So, what is this sword?
I am the blade of Ara, and you, Dust, are my fated sword bearer.
Well, if it's fate.
Yes, well, that's all great and everything, but I think it's about time I got this sword back to the clan.
I can't let you just leave with this sword, Fidget. Right now, it's the only thing that knows who I am. I don't even know how I got here.
Well, then you leave me no choice. I challenge you! The winner gets the sword!
Sure.
Well,
Alright, you win. But don't think I'm leaving empty-handed. I'm coming with you. But, I really need the sword back when you're done doing, you know, whatever it is you're doing.
What are we
exactly
doing
am
exactly?
I doing, Hara?
The answers you seek lie to the east. There is a path through the glade that leads down the mountainside, and from there you will find a village. That is your first step.
Then will you give me the sword? I really need to get it back home before anyone notices it's, gone.
When I find out just what it is I'm supposed to do with it, it's all yours, Fidget. Come on, let's go.
Okay then. Is there anything over to the left here? Some bunnies and a key. That's always handy. Now, one thing I want to mention before I get too far is the fact that this game was originally released on Xbox Live as a part of the Summer of Arcade or whatever it's called. And it was recently ported to PC a few months back now. But anyways, what I'm getting at here is the fact that being as it was originally an Xbox game, unsurprisingly, the game was designed to be not made, but in fact played with a 360 controller. Now, I'm told it works very well with the keyboard and mouse. This is actually a very good PC port, but I've not tried that. So, what I'm trying to get at here is, the first time I played through the game, I did it with a 360 controller, but I've elected not to do that for this Let's Play, just because my controller has very squeaky sticks, and that would kind of wreak havoc with the recording. So instead what I've done is I've rigged up my USB PlayStation controller that I use for most of my Let's Plays to work with this thing instead. So hopefully that'll work out just fine. It seems to be good, but if any problems arise, that is why. I don't know if that's something you would consider interesting, but it's something that you now know, whether you want to or not. So there. So, Dust and Elysian Tale is... It's kind of like a mix between a Metroidvania style game and like a brawler. So, if we click the right stick here, you can see a map with the little like grid-based style similar to a Metroid game. But it's got a little bit more kind of, I want to say action focus, even though that may not necessarily be accurate because Metroid and Castlevania games do tend to have a lot of action.
What is it, Fidget?
Well, my kind has what you'd call a sixth sense. And there's something just ahead.
Okay. But, Oh, I can't go down here? I thought I could go down logs. Oh, whatever. But anyways, you tend to fight a lot more, like, large groups of enemies and stuff in this game. It's a little bit more about, like, juggling and stuff. So anyways, touching this little orb thing gave us new abilities. As the little display said, we can now dodge, right or left. But that consumes a little bit of the meter at the top. There's the little white-blue flame thing. So whenever we dodge, you can see it goes down a little bit. And when it gets really low, I can no longer dodge. And now we also can go down there. So that's cool and stuff. Some of these pillars we can destroy. Doing so unveils the mysterious wall chicken, which is a healing item. So this is our inventory, and we can equip a whole bunch of stuff, including a healing item. And this is, you can have a whole bunch of different healing items, but the one that you have currently equipped is the one that you will use when you hit, I believe it's the left trigger. Mysterious wall chicken is a pretty decent healing item, so we're going to try not to use that for now. And we also got ourselves a note. Ancient times. So it's just explaining how treasure chests work.
All right, we found a chest.
Correction. We found a locked chest.
Good thing we found that key
Well,
then.
what are you waiting for? Smash it open.
That would be unwise, Dust. These chests are protected by arcane locks from the last era, and are well beyond my capabilities.
I suppose we'll need a key then.
Good thing keys fit every single lock in the game. So, in order to open these chests, we have to input a little random button sequence. Oh, that was 5. I guess it's a larger number of buttons on a higher difficulty. So, we got a couple new healing items from that. So, in general, I like to use the lowest level healing items first. Now, one of the things you will know if you've played Metroid or Castlevania games is that oftentimes you'll find areas that you can't access until you achieve a certain, or not achieve, but obtain a certain ability. So, this is an example of that. There's a little tunnel thing here that we can't do anything with quite yet. So we're going to have to come back here eventually. But probably not for quite some time. Now, I would be looking for more stuff in this area, but if we look at the map here, you can see that there's a little dot. And that means that the area is clear. If we look up our legend here, it shows a bunch of the markers that can appear in each area of the map. If there's a circle, then that means that there is a treasure left to be found here. But if there's a little dot, that means that you found all of the treasure in that area. So we've got all the treasure here. There is this path to the right, and you can see on the map that there's another path leading down as well, but assumedly we have to take this path here to uncover that downward path. So for now, all that's left is to come this way. This area is blue, which means that there's a save point in this area. Also deer. Hello, Mr. Deer. Goodbye. Oh, bad guys.
Calm yourself, Fidget. Dust. Focus. Remember what you've learned thus far.
No! Mash the buttons! Do something!
Okay then. So combat in this game is fairly simple, really. Use the square button to, or square button. I guess it's the X button on a 360 controller to execute your typical, like, 3 or 4 hit combo.
Nobody said anything about monsters.
Strange. Where did I learn these skills?
You wield the Blade of Ara, and with it, all the skills imbued therein.
Well, that's convenient.
Hello? Monsters?
Which are dead
Did I
now.
find you to control this power?
It is unlikely, Dust, that I would awaken from my slumber for such selfish reasons. There is a village beyond these woods. Perhaps finding it will aid in restoring your memories.
And then we'll be in the clear, right? No more monsters?
Fidget, I think things are about to get a whole lot worse.
Well, most likely.
This morning started off so well. At least take these feeble fruits. Something tells me you're going to need them.
So we get some healing items. We might as well use one of them right now. So as I was saying about the combat, I believe there's a list of... Yeah, there's a list here of all the stuff you can do, including all the combos. It basically comes down to combinations of the X and Y button. But we'll get into that more later. This is a save point. Just walking over it auto-saves for us. So, for the most part, we're not going to have to worry about actually creating save files. We're basically just going to let the autosave do its thing for us. So in general, anything that does something other than just hitting the bad guy is triggered by pressing the X button. Unfortunately, our options at this point are somewhat limited. I'm personally a fan of the XXY combo. It does this little 2 hits, and then you kind of whip forward, and then you do like a little kick thing. Another good one is if you hit X and then Y, you can send an enemy upward and combo them a little bit. And while you're in the air, if you press X or Y again, you'll kind of come crashing down like that, which does a fair amount of damage. And as you may have noticed, while we're doing this, we're also gaining... The bad guys are dropping money, and we have a little blue bar that's filling up, and that is our experience. When that fills up, of course, we level up, which is, well, something we want to do. Leveling up tends to be a good thing in video games. And there we took a hit, and it broke our chain. So, in this game, obviously, there is a chain counter. And depending on how many hits you achieve on that counter, you get bonus experience. And obviously, if you get hit, that breaks your chain. So that's a bad thing. You typically can't get exceptionally high chains with just normal attacks. You have to use an ability that we don't quite have yet.
Hold here, Dust. You have unlocked a new ability. Bear witness to the dust storm.
The Dust Storm! It's all spinny.
I like it.
It's hard to
Hold the
complain.
secondary attack to perform the dust storm. But beware, skilled as you may be, you cannot maintain the storm for long without hurting yourself.
Well, that's not good.
In that case, maybe I can help. If you press the super ballistic fidget action button of power, I'll perform an attack so spectacularly awesome that it'll produce emotions you didn't even know existed.
Well, that sounds
Please
promising.
contain yourselves as I demonstrate.
That was a little underwhelming.
That was, very pretty.
Well, maybe I'll just keep the rest of my repertoire to myself.
I'm sorry, Fidget. I'm sure it'll come in handy somehow.
Indeed.
Actually, Dust, between the three of us, this could be quite useful. The dust storm can manipulate Fidget's projectile into a more powerful attack. Observe.
Now that's a little bit more like it.
Wow! Oh, by the way, every time I use my power, it'll use up a bit of energy meter. You can recharge the meter with melee combos.
Yes, Dust. Between your combos and Fidget's own powers, you can achieve a higher hit chain, which will yield bonus experience after each battle. However, if you are struck by an enemy, the chain will be broken, and you will lose your bonus experience.
As I've explained.
Right. I think I understand.
If this is all too much for you, you can check out the help screen via the pause menu.
Thanks, Fidget. I'll take a look if I'm ever in trouble.
Whoa, okay. So, we have Fidget's projectile attack now, which, as they say, we can enhance by using the Dust Storm, which is quite handy. That's a pretty good chain. As you can probably imagine, using the projectile thing gives quite a few hits. In fact, the Dust Storm itself does a pretty good number of hits too, so that's a good way to get your combo up nice and high. Our projectiles are fairly weak right now, but in the long term, they're actually going to be very good for us. Now, in addition to the normal Dust Storm, we also have another kind of like air version of the storm that we can use. We can kind of... Oh, we can't actually do that yet. Never mind. But in general, it's a good idea to kind of use the projectiles frequently, because for one, it's easy damage that you can do without having to actually get in the way of your opponents and kind of put yourself at risk. But also, it has so many hits that it's a good way to get your combo meter up to kind of generate some bonus experience. And as you can probably imagine, leveling up tends to be a pretty good idea. It's pretty helpful. Although, the one thing to keep in mind is using Fidget's projectiles consumes the same meter as your dodge. So you have to keep that in mind and be a little bit careful about that. So hopefully you can kind of see the brawler elements that I was talking about earlier. There's obviously... You're frequently facing off against large groups of enemies.
Hey, you just leveled up.
I did?
Is that what I did? It feels good. Great, even.
As it should, Dust. You've acquired a skill gem. Open the character screen through the inventory to upgrade your abilities and become even more powerful.
Sounds like a plan. Okay, so that's what it looks like when you level up. There's like the little blue beam thing. So anyways, whenever we level up, we're given a skill gem that we can assign to one of these 4 stats. Fidget being our range damage, the others being pretty self-explanatory. So, the level up system in this game is pretty simple. The only stats that you actually gain are the ones that you assign skill gems to. So, if I did not assign a skill gem to attack, I would not gain any attack when I leveled up. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, these stats that are represented here do not include the stats from your equipment, which I don't think I have any of yet. So that's something to keep in mind, but it's not a huge deal. The other thing to keep in mind is the fact that you have to, like, your lowest stat and your high stat has to be within 4 skill gems of each other. So you can see that there's only 4 skill gems that are like highlighted on the screen, whereas there's the whole row, most of it is grayed out. So if I want to put 5 points in a stat, I would have to have at least 1 skill gem in each category. So that's kind of interesting. And on one hand, it means that you have to kind of... You can't really specialize in one stat too much, but you don't have to worry about like screwing up your stats and being out of balance. But on the other hand, like I said, you can't focus on one stat. So for most of the game, it doesn't matter all that much what we put our skill gems into. What we're dictating more than anything is the order more than the final outcome. So, I like to start off with a little bit of defense. Personally, I feel like I'm really good at taking kind of dumb hits. So minimizing the effect of those is ideal. I also don't like, in general, putting points into HP. I would much prefer put stats into defense because it kind of... I'd rather reduce the damage I take than allow me to take more damage. My reasoning being that just reducing your damage kind of increases the effectiveness of your healing items. That's my logic anyways. Attack and all that is definitely good, but at the same time, if you're killing enemies faster, it also means that your chain is building, like you're less capable of building a large chain. So, that's just another thing to keep in mind. I mean, in general, I would say that it's not worth purposely avoiding putting stats in your offensive, well, getting offensive stats, I guess I should say. In the end of the day, killing stuff is always going to be the best thing to go for. That's always your objective, so it doesn't serve you to kind of purposefully make yourself not good at that, if that makes any sense. But all these are reasons why I prefer to go for a bit of a defensive heavy build, at least for the time being. As we get towards the end of the game, our stat strategy is going to change up a little bit. But for now, that's what we're going with. Now you probably notice a whole bunch of these little things popping up as we kill enemies. Some of them are healing items, but other of them are materials. So this game has a crafting system, and obviously a part of that is acquiring all the materials that you need to craft the stuff. So enemies tend to drop crafting items, and you can see what ones you have on the crafting screen, or the material screen rather. Now the map says that there is another treasure in this area somewhere, but oh, is it down here? It is down here. Okay. Another chest. And mostly just gold money from that chest. Not that I'm complaining. Money... the way money works, just not so much money, but the economy works in this game tends to be a little bit odd. But I guess we'll talk about that more when it gets... when we have the ability to buy stuff. So anyways, I think this is a good place to leave it here for today. So we will continue our way through Dust and Elysian Tale on the next episode of Dust and Elysian Tale. Catch you later.